So let's get right into this and talk about the Fool card. I've got a myriad different images to show you, but we'd like to start off just with some basics about the Fool so you can know what it means when you're reading cards. So the Fool is card 0 of the Major Arcana card of the Tarot. And card 0, just in of itself, if you think of the number 0, is it really even a number, right? It's between everything, in everything, before everything, after everything, within everything. The 0 is kind of this magical number in of itself. The Fool doesn't really belong before the Magician card, really. It's everywhere. So a lot of text that you will pick up will actually put their definition of the Fool card after card 21, the World. And anywhere in between is what I would say, what I would add to that. The Fool represents sort of this divine spark of trust to leap into a new endeavor. It's trust, it's faith, it's this courage to come into a new experience. And we see that when we start looking at the images. I'm going to show you a few images now. We'll start out with the Rider-Waite's version of the Fool. I have the universal weight in front of me where the colors are a little softer than a traditional Rider-Waite deck. And of course, I'm always going to show you the Rider in any of this series. So the Fool in this card, he's a very typical Fool. We see him sort of in this very carefree gesture, and it looks like he's about to walk off a cliff, right? Now, if we really pay attention to the images in the Major Arcana cards in front of us, what we will often find about the Fool, especially in the Rider deck, is he seems to be sort of perched on top of, looking down on a valley that sort of encompasses all of the scenery and images of all of the other cards in the deck. It's like he's looking down on the world of the tarot. And it's very similar in that way to with the way a lot of people think of the Fool card as sort of an incarnating force even. I liken it a lot to the story that Waldorf children are told on their birthdays. In Waldorf schools, they're told this beautiful story about how, when they were in fairyland or whatever, they were looking down at their parents, and they chose to come down to earth, and they then came down through the Rainbow Bridge into birth and human life and human form. And that's very much, I think, kind of the choice that the Fool sort of embodies in a sense. If you're looking at the Major Arcana as the journey of the hero or the journey of a person born into the world, it's not always that chronological, but just to take that as an archetype or a story to understand the images through, then this would be like the young child looking down from the heavens, deciding to come to earth, right, and deciding to make that leap into a human incarnation. So we can see the Fool about to leap into the world. And, if we look behind him in this image, we see these mountains. We'll see these mountains again in many of the cards. We especially notice them in the card of the Hermit, who is usually standing on top of the mountains. The sun is white in this card, and that I've heard in many texts the white sun represents sort of purity and innocence. That's why it's white. He's also holding a little white flower. That also represents his innocence. Just to go a little bit into the symbolism, I don't really think it matters whether you know the symbols or not. But, you're going to have basically this knapsack here, which is red. And a lot of people say that the red knapsack kind of represents sensuality. And so he's bringing this with him into his human form. That's a part of what it is to be human, is to have this very sensual nature, this 3D experience. And then the little white dog down at his feet, I've heard that is supposed to represent the ego. And it's kind of a neat little image for the ego, because as we see, it's like this sweet little puppy. Our sense of identity isn't supposed to rule us. It's supposed to serve us. We are the master of our ego, not the other way around, right? And then there's a few more, the white rose, this innocence, this willingness to try something new, putting your best gesture forward in an endeavor. and the little red feather in his cap is said to represent his life force. So he's about to leap off the cliff. So I hope you enjoyed my mini training on the Major Arcana card, and you can go to my website www.virtualtarotschool.com to receive 21 other trainings just like this one. All you have to do is visit the website and it'll show you how to do that from there. I hope to see you on virtualtarotschool.com.